A lot for us to talk about. All right, so we'll do this until about 8:30, and by 8:30 we'll take a short break. By 8:40 we're back for Mainland Focus, where you get to be a part of the conversation. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, your own submission as regards the stories that we'll be treating this morning. Well, the weekend was quite an eventful one. As a matter of fact, but before we go into all of the major events that occurred over the weekend, let's see the major trending stories that we have from over the weekend. As it is our tradition, every Monday we try to bring you up to speed as regards all of the hot stories in the for Saturday and Sunday. Well, we have here a major story for Saturday Punch. Local government polls, APC and 19 qualified candidates sue Adeleke and Osiek. Still on local government poll, Kaduna residents obey movement restriction. There's also the story here as regards Edo Transition Committee. Okwebolo's team did not ask for sitting allowance, says Commissioner. All right, and then we also have here on the front page of Vanguard for Saturday, that is, renewed hope may be hard, but it will benefit Nigerians soon, says the president. We also have here Jigawa governor suspends commissioner over adultery allegation. Yeah, that was a thing, and it happened. I don't know, but we also have here, still on as regards stories that trended from over the weekend. NERC to hold public hearing over disturbing grid collapses. We're going to talk about that much later on, of course. UK, that's the United Kingdom, deports 44 Nigerians and Ghanaians. Kaduna local government elections, voters protest absence of electoral officers. We also have here Jonathan saying Iwayan was my mentor. And then we also have here 2027 presidency. I'll push my agenda when it is time. And that's coming from Seyi Makinde, Oyo State Governor. And quite a host of other stories. But as I mentioned earlier, there was quite a lot of activities over the weekend. From the collapse of the grid for like the 1 millionth time in how many years, or even the fact that I think it collapsed about 3 times in less than a few days, in just a span of a few days, and all of that. The conversation was hot as regards that. We are struggling. We have countries that are pushing 10,000, 40,000 megawatts, and here in Nigeria we're struggling to reach even 6,000 megawatts, which is a serious problem. All right, we already have a power situation, and now we have grids. The grid keeps collapsing. What exactly is the way forward as regards that? Aside from that, another major event that occurred over the weekend, of course, was the 4th anniversary of the #EndSARS protest. That was yesterday, October 20th. And it was quite, an interesting one. There were youths gathered at the Lekki toll gate, which was, the location, or a historic location in recent times now, especially as regards the #EndSARS, protest. And some people were picked up. I don't want to say arrested, because I think they were let go much later on. Yes, later in the course of the day they were let go, but it's still a significant part of our history as Nigerians, and it's something that we definitely need to go, especially for Lagosians, because that was it was Lagos that had the heat of that one the most. Was quite and it is still quite a depressing one. People lost family, people lost friends, people lost colleagues and all of that, and people there was a lot of encomium that was being pushed yesterday, a lot of remembrance, and trying to remember this person as regards that. So I think it's definitely going to be a mark in our history, whether dark or light. We'll get to know as history goes on. Another major event that occurred over the weekend, of course, was the 90th birthday celebration of Yakubu Gowon, former head of state of Nigeria, and it came with its own issues as well. But the highlight of, aside from Yakubu Gowon being 90, yes, a lot of people probably are not aware of the fact that he's still alive. Yes, he's still alive, to the glory of God. But the major highlight of the birthday celebrations of Yakubu Gowon was, of course, Peter Obi's celebratory message to Yakubu Gowon caused quite, the heat yesterday, and following, the reactions and all of that. Although Peter Obi has responded, trying to, explain why he had to. I don't know why he had to, but of course he had to. Anyways, whilst we understand, the reason why the reactions, or the reason for the reactions to Peter Obi's message, some people felt, well, yes, you can congratulate him, or yes, you can celebrate him, but there were some words that you used that of course do not really align with the person in question, especially coming from an Igbo person, and it was quite a heated one. He got the heat. Peter Obi got the heat on X. Yes, he has responded to that. I'll also reel that out. But before we get into the major stories for today, I have Fuad Sahid with me via the phone line. He'll be giving analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. My name is Omobola Sandra will be and always will be. And good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. How are you doing? How was the weekend?
Yeah, beautiful weekend. Quite an experience on Political Roundtable yesterday. I really enjoyed myself, the entire conversation. So for me, one of the best shows on Political Roundtable, really, because of the kind of things we're able to really dig into. Again, a lot happened over the weekend, like you've rightly highlighted. I think the major one has to be the celebration of General Yakubu Gowon retired, former head of state, who was also the head of state while Nigeria slid into a civil war. A lot really. And like you said, I think the major issue that came from the weekend celebration of General Yakubu Gowon was Peter Obi's celebratory message, and there was that backlash really that made him to actually, explain himself. I've seen the two messages, the first congratulatory message and then the other message he had to post to explain himself. And I also had to go through a lot of the reactions, especially from Southeastern brothers and sisters, who seem not to have gotten any closure to what happened to them at that particular region during the Biafran War, the Nigerian Civil War. But I think that, there are people who have said that, look, Peter Obi should have just stayed with his congratulatory message.
Just happy birthday
without having
and move
to explain himself, without having to explain
okay.
No, there are people who felt that, look, Peter Obi should have just stayed with his message, the congratulatory message, and that, look, as someone who is planning to lead the country, it should always show some courage. That not every time that you get a backlash from social media, you want to quickly react or you amend your thoughts. Definitely may be afraid of the mob, the social media mob. That, look, one of the qualities that we should get from a leader is a leader who necessarily does not kowtow to the opinions of the mob, who can stand with his own reasoning and thoughts. But again, there are also people who argue that, look, a leader also can show courage by listening to the people, the agitations of the people, dissenting opinion about his opinion, and offer explanation. But what I think, Sandra, is that, look, 67 to 1970, the Nigerian Civil War. How many years ago? Is it not surprising that, look, we've not gotten any closure to what happened at that time? The end of that war came with no victor, no vanquish. That, look, there was no victory, there was no losers. We needed to heal ourselves. But what I think is that, look, one of the reasons why we are not getting closure to what happened to us as a nation during the Civil War is bad leadership, Sandra. Look, if after that time, leaders after leaders have been able to really bring good leadership on the table for Nigerians, maybe we would have been able to forget about what. Look, there are countries who also went into a form of civil war, like Nigeria, and they've moved on with their lives. They've healed up. They've been able to bring themselves together. There's now prosperity. People now work together. So we are not the only country that has gone through a civil war period. But the question is, what have leaders after the civil war consistently done to heal the nation, to unify the nation? So with the level of bad leadership we've seen consistently after that period, it's extremely difficult really to have any closure or unity amongst Nigerians. That's number one. Number two is the distortion of history. Sandra, I think we have to encourage people reading more, really. read more about these things. Yes, a lot of us were not born during the Civil War, but that's why history is documented in the form of, books, novels, a lot that people can read about, really, to shape their thoughts and opinion about what really happened, from how we got independence to, the First Republic, to when eventually we had the intervention of the first military coup, of the 5 young majors led by the late Major Kaduna Nzegu. You understand? So what eventually happened when Aguiyi took over, and then, of course, what eventually came up from all of that, and then the Civil War, there are books that people can read, to shape their opinion and thoughts, really, about what happened at that era. It's unfortunate that up till now we have not been able to heal up ourselves as a nation, because what happened over the weekend showed that, look, we are still heavily divided, especially the closure for our southeastern brothers and sisters.
Heavily.
But I recommend a lot of books for people who are interested in, understanding what happened at that era. Perception issue, I understand, because no matter the books you read, sometimes your sentiments, your emotions,
exactly.
So may not really shape your. But look, I would recommend, for example, Ademola Ademoyega's Why We Struck, the story of the Nigerian first coup. That's a book that can help people, really. Just pick up the book, Why We Struck. I think Ojukwu also wrote a book, Because I'm Involved, which also explains a lot of the things that happened during the Civil War. My Command by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is also a book that can help. There are so many books, really, that give account of what happened before, during, and after the Civil War. And I think that can help people. We just have to read. But most importantly, Sandra, we need to find some form of closure with this particular issue. And the only way we can heal ourselves of the pains of the Civil War, bring everybody together to focus on nation building and prosperity of Nigeria, is for us to get good leadership, quality leadership, a leadership that can work for the people and bring prosperity to the land. But again, General Yakubu Gowon, fine gentleman, a man with a lot of grace, if you understand what I'm saying. When he was head of state, he was a bachelor, and eventually he married, and he's had a very, very, this amiable character. He's a man that you always love, no matter what you think about him. So we also want to congratulate him. 90 years is no joke, and he's the longest, is the oldest former head of state of the country, former leader of the country. Living, the only one that has lived that, and he's the oldest of all of the leaders of the country. So we congratulate him. Obasanjo, I think, is 87. So, but Yakubu Gowon is 90, so he's still the oldest.
Just to retrieve what you have said. Yes, I mean, there's no leader that of course, its policies or its direction or its way or its actions or activities did not hurt the country in one way or the other. All right, but I mean, Yakubu Gowon can also be remembered for a few good things as well, as regards
a lot of good things, actually.
Exactly, a lot of infrastructure that we have till today was done during the Yakubu Gowon era
administration.
Exactly. And some initiatives as well that we have till today were also established during the Yakubu Gowon era. I mean, labeling Peter Obi a one Nigerianist now came off as, oh, look at this man, and and it's just really unfortunate. I guess he hit a nerve, on a lot of people, especially, our Igbo brothers and sisters. But he really had it hot over.
You know what, Sandra? If you read through that congratulatory message, honestly, I read it several times and I didn't see anything really that should have warranted the kind of attack and backlash he got.
They're saying that, the part where he said, in a time of hate, you stood for love. At a time of strife, you stood for peace. At a time of division, you stood for unity. That was, the bone of contention there.
Well, Sandra, look, all is fair in war and love, right? Because again, in a war situation, and that's why we always encourage and preach peace on this platform. It's always good to judge than war, because maybe you slide into a war situation, Sandra. There's a lot that comes with a war situation, really. Because at that point, it's about war, it's about destruction, it's about killing, it's about carnage. You understand what I'm saying? In fact, the same thing. I remember when Achebe too had this back and forth on the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo because of the role he also played during the Civil War. You understand what I'm saying? There are also people who think that, look, at that point there was opportunity not for for us not to go into that war. There are people who will tell you today that the reason why we went into that war was because of Ojukwu insistence on fighting the war, when other opportunities were available for us to, tow a peaceful path. There are also people who think that, look, the marginalization. That's why I said that, look, it's important for people to read
history,
understand what happened from when we got independence to the First Republic to the first coup that led to General Tʀᴇɪᴅs government, and then how we slid into the Civil War, and the roles everyone played. Look, the reality is that, look, you can't blame one person and not the other person if we are going to get closure to these issues. But I think that, look,
but you've already said it, Fuad.
Yes.
Bias, sentiments, emotions is not really is going to make people turn a blind eye to the entire structure of the whole thing. They just rather just focus on, oh no, this was what happened and this was what we're told. Some people were not even alive when that thing happened.
So
it's
a perception issue, really. So no matter what the facts about what happened at that time say, people just believe what they want to believe, really.
That's just it, because I for one, I wasn't there. I don't know. I didn't know what happened. A lot of people. That's why I'm saying that a lot of this so-called informed sentiments or informed biases were stories that were passed down. Okay, but people that were there actually know the rundown.
People will tell you, Sandra, about the Aburi Accord in Ghana and how some people reneged on it. I remember that my grandfather would tell me about the roles Obafemi Awolowo played too. And then the word of the late Ojukwu too, about no power in Black Africa can subdue me. When overtures were made to him to tow a peaceful path rather than going into the war. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of history, really. But
yes.
It's not about how bad the era was, really.
Thank you.
But the question is, what have we done to heal ourselves as a nation? That's the most important thing for
a path to healing, basically. Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Peter Obi has put out that he tried to put an explanation as regards, why his choice of words in the celebratory message. He said, and I quote, "With these explanations, I'd like to admonish all those angered by my greetings to the elder statesmen to bear with me and join me in this mission to create a country where hate, unforgiving spirit and other vices will give way for justice. What Nigeria needs badly and urgently to survive going forward is good governance. We can only germinate and grow in true peace and the presence of justice." Thanks and God bless. Peter Obi on X. Further details, of course, the conversation will definitely go on. Join us, on so many of our other programs as we dig deep. I'm sure it will not end here. Some people are already, falling off and say, "Oh no, I'm not following this guy again. Look at him; he's celebrating someone he's celebrating someone who was a part of someone who, where millions of people lost their life. It's genocide. Yes, they called Yakubu Gowon a genocidist. It's just a lot of words. But thank you very much, Said Fuad, for we just had to quickly dig deep into that one. Time check right now is 2:08. But before we even go into the major stories for today, there's also the question hovering around the health of the Chief of Army Staff, Tʀᴇɪᴅ Lagbaja, and there's been rumors here and there that the army has come forward, the DHQ rather, has come forward to debunk a certain unfortunate rumor that was going around yesterday. As I don't know, we hope that in the course of the week we'll get some sort of clarity as regards the state of the health of Major General Tʀᴇɪᴅ Lagbaja.
I think the Punch is reporting, like you said, that the DHQ has said that, look, there's nothing to the health of the that nothing really, again, about 15 generals have been retired over the weekend. But the Punch is also reporting that sources are saying that, look, the Chief of Army Staff is sick, actually. He's bedridden, and I think he needs the prayers of all Nigerians at this time. That's what the Punch is reporting, that there are sources within the military that are saying that, look, he's actually very, very sick at this period. But we wish him all the best. People can fall sick because he's an army officer. Does not mean he cannot fall sick.
He's a human being.
He's a human being. So if he's sick, truly, as it's being reported, we wish him all the best and wish him swiftest recovery.
Thank you very much. Yes, 3 minutes past 8. You're on to mainland 98.3 FM. It's trends in the papers. Well, those were stories that trended over the weekend in the papers. We just had to quickly dig deep into it. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of events. It was an eventful weekend. It was quite an eventful weekend. But let's move on now to the Punch newspaper. As the major headline there read, Grid collapses 105 times in 10 years despite $1.4 billion loan. And we have riders here that says government fails to access additional $2.96 billion. World Bank approved electricity infrastructure loans. Buhari records 93 grid collapses, Tinubu 12. Tinubu has been in office for 17 months and
so 12 collapses.
12 collapses. Incessant grid collapse worries NERC and consumers. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. So what we have now is, despite a huge investment in the power sector, the national grid has collapsed over and over and over and over in a total of 105 times in collective APC administration. So from former President Buhari's time in office till now, 105. And findings have shown that Nigeria secured about 10 loans from the World Bank worth $4.36 billion over the past decade to address key challenges in its power sector. Although not all to World Bank, loans have been disbursed completely. The federal government and other multilateral agencies have also supported, the country's power sector financially. There's been provision of billions of naira to revamp the industry. But despite these funds, Fuad, the sector is still struggling. Look at grid collapsing over and over. Just, how many days ago or so, Ghana, said that they're looking at, they are on 40,000 megawatts already. And here we are. We're on 4,600 and we are struggling with 4,600. What is the problem here exactly?
No. The problem is what it is really. Corruption, lack of good thinking on the part of our leaders, vested interest. Please mark that particular one, vested interest in the entire power sector value chain. And when some of us complain about these loans from these foreign institutions, World Bank, IMF, this story captures it very, very well. Look at how much we've gotten from the World Bank to revamp the power sector. And what do we have? Over 100 collapses in the last 10 years. The Tinubu administration, about 17 months, have had over 10 collapses. So that tells you that, look, when some of us complain about this loan that keeps coming for things, I think just last week it was reported another $500 million loan has been approved by the World Bank for education. You see, these loans are going to come. By the end of the day, corruption will take it over. And that's why we keep saying that, look, all of these admonitions, these prescriptions from the World Bank, IMF, without them telling us that, look, you cannot reform anything without tackling the corruption. It has to be the first thing to start before you start any form of reforms. Because a reform that is embedded, with a very corrupt system would not do anything, would not change anything actually. So in the power sector, we've had investments. In fact, investments not in the last 10 years, actually. There have been talked about the $16 billion that was put in the sector. Sandra, from the Yar'Adua era to the Goodluck Jonathan era, just imagine over 25 years of sustained democracy. We are still talking about a very comatose, a very weak grid. So look at the quality of leadership we've even gotten in this democratic experiment, the Fourth Republic. If there's anything, just imagine that at least in 25 years, if we are not able to do anything meaningful, we've been able to fix the problem in the power sector. And see what would have happened to the manufacturing sector and other sectors that are, energy dependent. But education, nothing. Infrastructure, nothing. Power sector, nothing. Health, nothing. And we've been running democracy consistently. So that's why even till today, when people talk about any form of hope that tomorrow is going to be better, nobody trusts it. Because we've been inundated with all of these hope rhetoric without anything to show for it. The TCN man who was on TV over the weekend said that, look, all their equipment are obsolete. They are weak. They can't even carry a lot of the load.
So that's where I'm going to, Fuad. Yes, that's where I'm going, because apparently when electricity demand is higher than the supply, the grid frequency will drop. And this, and with the grid frequency, dropping over and over and over and over, of course, weakening the infrastructure that's available for provision or for supply. And that's why the amount of times that it keeps collapsing is a major issue. On Monday, last week Monday, the grid collapsed. In the process of fixing it, it came back on, and then it collapsed again on Tuesday.
Even Abiku no do read that one.
I don't get it. So then that was Tuesday, and then by Saturday, that's in a week, the grid collapsed 3 times.
But remember that the Minister of Power was saying it was just a trip-up.
I don't like it. I don't like this one.
No,
I don't like
that it was not anything serious. It was just a trip-up. And why he was saying it was a trip-up, it collapsed again. And then over the weekend, it collapsed again.
Well, as it is expected, anytime the grid collapses, majority of electricity consumers are thrown into darkness, affecting businesses and social activities, as it is on Saturday in the morning, as early as 8 a.m. or so. That was when, the whole thing just went off. It just went off. And at this point now, baffled by the repeated cases of grid collapse, NERC is set to hold a stakeholders forum on Thursday, and the public hearing, they said, is in line with Section 848, subsection 1 of the Electricity
Act. And do you know that we don't need a public hearing to fix the problem? Look. This is supposed to be, what we are supposed to get is a convergence of the stakeholders and the experts, really. Not even the stakeholders particularly. We're talking about people who are in charge, people who we voted for, people who have been appointed. Are they saying they don't know what the problem is?
So are you towing the path of some voices that have come up in their frustration over the frequent grid collapse, urging the government to replace those that are overseeing our grid?
It's part of the solution
to
the problem, Sandra. Because again, we need to check the capacity of the people running these things. They really have what it takes, the know-how, the wherewithal to do the job. That's number one. Number two, we've talked about unbundling this national grid. You understand? And that's why the Power Sector Act that was amended, the new law under this administration, people have thought that states by now, the subnational, would have keyed into that law to begin to take advantage of the opportunity to bring down the power sector into the subnational level. But up till now, nothing has happened. It's just a mere rhetoric. Remember when that law came, people say, oh, thank God, states can now do their own thing. They can now generate, transmit, and distribute. Sandra, none of the states have tapped into that opportunity as we speak. And so what people are saying is that, look, we need to unbundle this national grid and have smaller grids, something you can call regional grids. But this idea of lumping up everybody together, using transmission lines to transmit power up and down, would continue to lead to this embarrassing situation we are seeing. But is anybody committed to it? Are we committed to doing the right thing with the power sector? That's the big question.
All right. The convener of the Electricity Consumer Protection Advocacy Center, Prince Will Okorie, expressed worry that electricity consumers, especially those on estimated billing, continue to pay for darkness as the grid has just continued to collapse. And he has alleged that substandard equipment must have been used for power infrastructure, and he has challenged the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, asking what it's doing to protect electricity consumers, because I do not want to understand the challenges of consumers, raise them, and get the attention of the discourse at this point now. But the story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper as regards the grid collapse, epileptic grid, situation in the country.
But Abiku self don't do this one.
All right. We also have here foreign investors dump 355 billion naira stocks over forex crisis. That's beautiful. But let's see what the story has for us. Foreign investors sold off about 355 billion naira worth of stocks on the Nigerian exchange on its first 8 months of 2024. Data from the Nigerian exchange has revealed. And according to the August Domestic and Foreign Portfolio Investment Report of Nigerian exchange, foreign outflows from the market exceeded inflows by about 50 billion. And sell-offs by foreign investors were at their highest in April. also had, in May, June, and speaking on the trend, a stockbroker, long-time stockbroker, if I might add, David Adorin, noted that the unstable naira and high interest rate environment were making investors abandon the equity market. So he said, and I quote, "The equity market reacts to so many things. The depreciation of the naira, which is around 1,700, of course, would impact the market. The foreign exchange position can make people exit the market and convert to hard currency, which is stronger, possibly to come back to the market when they see an improved currency level. And that is what we call carryover trade." And so there are other factors. We also have the hike in interest rates, which also causes financial assets to migrate away from the capital market. Then we also have the period of the year where seasonally the market is a little bit low. So these are the factors that he put up. So, and that's as the first, of course, unstable naira, high interest rate environment. These are the major issues that is making investors to abandon the equity market. And we have an administration that is heavily bent on
going on with these things,
foreign direct investments, and also interesting fiscal policies or monetary policies.
Well, it's going to be a period of challenge, really, for the equity market, because again, some of these divestments we are seeing from these foreign investors would have telling impact, serious impact, really, and you can't blame them. They are looking at monetary policies, looking at interest rate, looking at how weak our currency is getting. It's now rated as the worst performing currency in the whole of Africa. That's the naira. So they're going to put their minds on these things, and these are guys who are also speculative in whatever they are doing. So they're not going to wait till everything collapses completely for them to do the right. So the thing they are doing now is to just sell off, put their monies into other things, taking their monies off the equity market, probably holding some foreign exchange, hoping that things will stabilize and they can come back. So you can't blame them. These are just smart guys who are taking a good look and focusing on what is happening with the entire economy, so that they don't eventually get the
I don't think anyone is blaming anyone. I mean, if you want to invest, especially a pharmaceutical company and wants to invest in Nigeria and just says their grid is collapsing 3 times in a week, I don't know how that is going to encourage anyone to come on board.
Factors.
No, I'm just saying that's just on a lighter note, anyways.
Yeah, but the major factors really the foreign exchange market, so
and the high interest rate environment, yes,
and then the falling value of the naira. Really, the naira is doing badly. So you kind of expect equity market investors not to pay attention to these things and quickly divest, hoping that maybe things will get stable and then they come back.
Well, the World Bank has assured us that these are amazing reforms and we should
they don't know what they are saying.
We should chill.
Or they know what they are saying.
In 15 years will be fine.
Don't know what they are doing.
No, we should just take a chill.
It's a two-way thing, really.
If
we say they don't know what they are saying, we are not telling ourselves the truth. The World Bank guys knows what they are doing. They know what they are saying. And they say these things because they know our leaders don't know what they are doing.
That's all. Thank you very much. 16 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, so you can drop your thoughts and your submission even as the show progresses. Now, let's move on. Still on the front page of the Punch, Oyo Dam sacks Ogun and Lagos communities as flood water rises. That's on pages 6 and 45 of the Punch newspaper. And, well, we have wasted a lot of salivary gland on that one. On Ondo poll, there's also a lot happening. Ondo goes to the polls very soon, and what we have as updates on that is Ganduje and APC governors woo aggrieved aspirants for Aiyedatiwa, and then INEC rejects PDP's request for state rec redeployment. Those are on pages 21 of the Punch newspaper.
They should just go into that polls, do what they need to do. What we saw in Edo State will repeat itself again. I'm not saying APC would win, but whoever emerges as winner in this Ondo election would have bought people's votes, would have done all manner of things to emerge. Okay. So the PDP better get to understand how these things are done. They know it too. They are just telling themselves the truth. Change the rec or don't change the rec. It will not change anything.
All right. Also, above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, as we mentioned earlier, Army debunks COA's death rumors and retires 15 generals. That's on page 45 of the Punch newspaper. Moving also very quickly, petrol marketers import 123 million litres as they continue talks with Dangote. So, no fewer than 4 vessels carrying imported PMS or petrol arrived at seaports on Friday through Sunday, and according to a document obtained from the NPA, that's Nigerian Port Authority, about 123.4 million litres of PMS were berthed at 2 seaports to improve fuel supply nationwide. Okay, well, that conversation still continues.
So the question is this, Sandra. It would have been nice for us to get more information as to these marketers who imported this product into the country. That's number one. Number two, Sandra, most Nigerians are buying PMS now per litre at over 1,000 naira. But yet, there's still scarcity. You are not sure that, look, you're going to go to a filling station now and see the product you buy.
So the dealers are saying that supply from Dangote is currently insufficient. And that's why they had to go. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Remember some weeks ago. I think it was NNPCL mentioned that, we are no longer importing because we can't even afford it. We are owing our suppliers, and so we're going to rely. So there was some sort of stoppage as regards importation, but of course that has changed. So they said that, but then after a few weeks, they received 141 million litres. It's okay. But then what we have now is that the dealers are stating that Dangote is currently insufficient to meet.
Who are these dealers?
Domestic.
Anyways, we'll try and also dig more into all of this. But again, the thing that keeps coming to my mind is this, Sandra. When are we going to stop the importation of refined petroleum products in this country? And are we really doing anything as a nation to ensure that we stop
it? Okay, that's another question.
Have you seen any conscious effort that we are moving towards ending the importation of refined petroleum products into the country? Remember that Mele Kyari told us that by December 2024, Nigeria will be the net exporter of petroleum products, not even crude oil. So are we seeing any movement towards achieving that? And like I was saying over the weekend to Kokoro in our Yoruba program, are we sure we won't have any refinery, any government-owned refinery? Those 4 refineries, hope is not in our dream. Because have you heard anybody talking about those refineries again?
There's no mention of it at all. Even the Port Harcourt was supposed to have come on stream.
Are we so deep that we don't know?
What?
I'm not going to the point where we have to begin to think aloud and ask all manner of questions. Maybe we've
think out. Well, further details on page 35 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, before we move on from the Punch, African School of Governance Initiative, Kigali, Rwanda. African leaders have launched the African School of Governance, an initiative in Kigali, Rwanda, a graduate institution that is designed to offer world-class public policy education, research, and engagement programs. Professor Kingsley Moghalu is the inaugural president of the ASG in Kigali, Rwanda. Yes.
So, who are the people that you think we should quickly enroll into that school?
All the African leaders.
And so when they go to that school, what are you going to be teaching them?
Public policy education.
Also, after graduating, what should that happen from the school?
Reforms in their various countries.
So if they now refuse to reform anything, what then do we do?
We send them back to the school.
Let me tell you, the first thing they have to do to all of these African leaders if they go to that school is to tell them the dangers of corruption. Number 1. Number 2, also tell them the dangers of vested interest. Number 3, and then also tell them why it is important for them to know that Africa will only develop when they sit back here to look at the solutions from Africa. Africa will only develop Africa. Nobody would help them to develop Africa. Those are the 3 things they need to learn. And I'm sure they know.
All right.
The school will not change anything because it's still about them refusing to do the right thing. This school is just going to be in school for being in school, really. These guys know the right thing, but they are not committed to doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, the story is it's a congratulatory one. It's you can get further details from plenty places, including the Punch newspaper. 23 minutes past 8, and we're moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. Very quickly, the major headline on the front page of the Guardian reads: Federal government's budget in logjam as multiple appropriations seek attention. Okay, because Fuad was trying to correct me last week, Friday, that, oh no, they said they've unified everything. It's okay. Well, anyways, what we have here is the federal government's yearly appropriation laws documents once considered the holy grail of public financing are fast sliding into wish lists.
It has always been. I don't know when things changed and why the report is saying it has always been the holy grail. We've always appropriated money, mere appropriation.
And that's why that's what they're saying, that it was once considered the holy grail of public financing, but now it's becoming a wish list.
I'm saying that I've never known a period where it was actually the holy grail.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, we have riders here. Staggered 2023 capital votes lose 70% value to forex crisis. Deficit jumps to 13.5 trillion naira. That's over 3 times of earned revenue. And we have here delayed presentation of 2025 estimates may alter January to December implementation
We'd like
cycle.
to know the benchmark. What we're going to be benchmarking the 2025 budget on, really. It would be nice to know.
Is it the 2023 budget that is still running or 2024 budget that is still...
And it would also be nice to know our budget performance index for 2024.
We don't even know 2023 zone yet. Why are we jumping to 2024? What are you doing?
And now we are waiting for 2025.
And we are waiting for 2025 now.
So it's just mere wish list. And that's why nobody gets excited, really. And they will give it a name. Every budget has this beautiful name. I think the last one was Budget of Renewed Hope, Abby.
Yes.
So they will give this 2025 another name. But these are mere wish lists, really.
Anyways,
yeah.
There's quite a lot from this particular one now. It's just a lot for us to actually take away as regards, budget performance over the years. Because historically speaking, the federal government's budgets are known for underperformance and poor execution. But to tell ourselves the truth, in the last 1 year, this may have been the worst in the history
in terms of our budget performance,
which has forced the National Assembly to extend the implementation of its capital component 3 times since it was due for a wind down. And the third extension pushed the deadline to December 31st, which has taken the full cycle of the 2024 appropriation. So it's ridiculous at this point now. 2023, and Fuad, I don't know if you remember very clearly, sometime last year, December, when our National Assembly said, oh no, we had to take a break from our break and come because, the president wants a full cycle, January to December, budget implementation.
So what has happened to the full cycle now?
It's full cycle, 2 cycles.
Or 3 multiple cycles.
It's 2 cycles, multiple cycles. Anyways, 2 separate interim reports point to an over 200% increase in its performance. It is fallacious to equate that for impact, as the real value creation may be far less than the original value contemplated by the appropriation.
We'll see again, because again, we put these monies out. One of our friends, I don't know whether he's listening this morning, was telling me, the government has made these trillions of naira to put into infrastructure.
Yeah. And
I told him, Oga, we will still have to borrow to finance the 2025 budget. Because again, he was saying that, after removing subsidy, floating the naira, the government has saved like 15 trillion or something. I think it was captured in one of the national newspapers.
That's lovely.
And he was asking me, and why is that not trending? And I said, Oga, we are used to figures. At the end of the day, the 2025 budget will come with huge deficits that will still have to borrow to finance.
Now we're currently on 13.5.
So at the end of the day,
with a debt profile of 121.
And the sad part of all of this mere wish list character that has come from our budget consistently is that, look, it is the capital expenditure per capital component of the budget that suffers the most. It is that capital expenditure part of the budget that suffers the most.
No, right.
No, they will take care of the recurrent expenditure. That one is salaries and buying of
yes,
manner of things.
It's very important.
And they will take care. But what we are saying is that, look, as a developing nation, the capital expenditure part of the budget is even supposed to be our priority. Yes, we understand salaries and all that, but again, what attention are we paying to ensure that, look, the capital component of our budget, we implement it to the latter? A lot of times you abandon the capital component of it and leave it on deficit that we'll never be able to solve.
Well, also here on the front page, more details of that on page 6, anyways, of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government's budget in logjam as multiple appropriations seek attention. On page 6. Moving on now, we also have here, this is an interesting one. I just thought to put it out there. You can go and, read up on this. How Buhari reversed Nigeria's 16-year economic gains. And this is from the World Bank. I don't know. I think at this point, World Bank should just maybe, I don't know. Maybe they should stop. Maybe they should stop talking.
When you're always with them, when you're always there begging them for money,
because there's something else they said on Thursdays, another thing they said on Friday, and here we are, highlighting maybe the obvious, but it's just really interesting.
They said the 16-year reform from Obasanjo to Jonathan, and it would have been nice for them to give us more details of the reforms that we got in 16 years that the Buhari government reversed.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you can get the details on page 23.
But I'm just saying that, look, the things that those ones refuse to do, that this government is doing, is what they are praising now. So you can see this double speak from the World Bank. If you read the story, you understand that these are guys who are, intended to continue to confuse us about what.
That's just it. All right, that's it.
Because these are the guys who tell you that stay on the course. Stay on course for the next 15 years. They are the ones that will tell you that your currency is the worst performing currency. Yes. They are also the ones telling us that, look, more people are sliding into poverty. So where are you, these people?
They're in the world.
Deciding for us.
They're in the world. The story is on page 23 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here, very quickly, move around in the daytime to understand Nigeria's plight. Furiwa tells Tinubu. And that's on page 5.
You see the problem. When Ojizo Kalu started that night,
oh my goodness,
you say you see the problem.
It goes around in the night.
Say, and the president moves around in the night to see what and what.
I don't know, but I feel like the presidency now, there's just a lot that comes from them, and I just wonder, who are these people?
Senator. I know. The thinking that brought out that statement from him is still shocking to me.
Why? How many days ago? How many months ago we're told the president doesn't sleep?
He doesn't sleep. It's even wrong that he doesn't sleep.
Did you hear that one?
Those are some of the ridiculous statements these guys make to try and make us feel that the president is working. It's not by not sleeping that you show that you are working, or you move around at night to see what at night. And so if the president moves at night, he has seen the whole Nigeria because he's moving at night in Abuja.
What? When you're back,
and this is a senator that was former governor that is saying
what?
So. Yes.
When Yoruba people, what do Yoruba people say they do at night?
I don't know. I don't move at night.
Okay, that's all. The story is on page 5. Let's move on now because we have run out of time. And we also have here minimum wage. Defaulting states may face industrial unrest in November. And that's on page 4.
That's Labour talking about it.
And that's on page. That's on page 4 of the Guardian. As we wrap things up this morning on Trends in the Papers, I have here Vanguard newspaper. The major headline there reads, Federal government zero-duty food import policy faces fresh hurdles.
Very interesting story.
Customs agents hint at confusion among implementation agencies. Inflation and exchange rates defeat policy objectives, says analyst. Policy not optimal, says Aphrinvest. That's on page 21 of Vanguard newspaper. And unfortunately for us, that's the only story that we can, take off the front page of Vanguard newspaper.
Very interesting story.
Very interesting read. So, I think we started this conversation months ago because we've been talking about, the difficulties as regards implementation of the president's directive. Yes, on food importation.
And it's a very important directive. Food waivers.
Food importation.
See what has come of that directive according to this report, Sandra. You can take it.
So hopes of many low-income Nigerians for lower food prices may be dashed as zero import duty policy on essential food staples appears to have hit fresh hitches. There's lack of coordination, unclear directives, underlying agronomic and infrastructural challenges as major obstacles. And this is coming at the backdrop of a renewed inflationary pressure on purchasing power of the vulnerable citizens, which is the main reason for the measure with the objective of moderating prices. So, as it is now with Nigeria's...
2 months has gone. That directive was given. And it was supposed to last for 6 months.
All right. Well, initially, the initial setback was the need for the Minister of Finance to issue relevant directives for commencement, which, led to an initial 2 months delay. Although, the Nigeria Customs Service said that the federal government would forego 188 billion in revenue.
And because of that, customs and revenue.
So they're saying this may have unsettled both the FIRS and the Finance Ministry. That we'll lose all that money. Wait, let's think.
So were they not thinking about this when that directive was given?
It was the president that gave directive.
Look, so are you saying the president just gives directive?
The same way the president announced subsidy is gone on May 29, 2020.
So maybe that's the way the directive was also announced. Okay.
What?
Yeah. Okay, I'm just...
it's all right.
I accept.
It's okay. It's all right. Anyways, giving further insight into so many controversies, there's a lot actually to take from this. There's frustration over the unclear status of the zero import duty implementation. Unclear status as it is now.
Remember that the custom also gave their own counter directive. The president gave a directive. Custom came with his own directive too.
Guidelines. It's not directives. Guidelines. Fuad. The customs is guidelines.
Semantics now.
It's guidelines. This is what needs to be done before we can carry out the directive.
Okay, so what has now happened after the guidelines?
It's okay. Anyways, expressing frustration. Look at the economy. The economy is in comatose. So we're doing all these things to intervene to see how the government can reduce costs. And according to him, the implication of this delay in implementation is severe, with many companies facing potential closure due to escalating energy costs, exchange rate, and oil prices. There is no capital flow in the country, and the import system is dwindling because of the government's inability to intervene and reduce costs. And that's a wrap for trends in the papers for this morning. We'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we carry on with Mainland Focus. And that's the part where you get to be a part of the conversation. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay tuned.